Master Sergeant Jeho Park lay perfectly still in his ghillie suit. The morning dew had soaked through to his skin, but he didn't move. He hadn't moved for 6 hours. His custom-made sniper rifle rested against his shoulder, its barrel pointing at the sky above Seoul. Through his high-powered scope, he watched the strange ships enter Earth's atmosphere. They looked like giant silver arrows, cutting through the clouds with perfect precision. The world had been waiting for this moment since the first alien signals were detected 3 days ago. Target distance, approximately 3,000 meters and descending, Jeho whispered into his radio. His spotter, Sergeant Da-hee-oh, lay next to him, checking wind speeds and atmospheric conditions. Command confirms no response to peaceful broadcasts, Da-hee said quietly. They're treating this as a potential hostile invasion. Jeho nodded slightly. After 20 years as a sniper, he knew when something felt wrong. These ships weren't coming in peace. Their formation was too precise, too military. The first ship landed in the empty field that the Korean military had cleared for this purpose. It was bigger up close, about the size of a small office building. Its silver surface reflected the morning sun, almost painful to look at through the scope. Movement at the front of the ship, Da-hee reported. Looks like a door is opening. Jeho adjusted his scope slightly. The door indeed opened, forming a ramp to the ground. The aliens that walked out were tall, at least 2 meters in height. They wore what looked like armor made of the same silver material as their ships. Their heads were covered by helmets with dark visors. I count 12 aliens in the first group, Jeho said. All armed. Those aren't ceremonial weapons. Through his scope, he could see every detail of their equipment. The aliens carried what appeared to be energy weapons, just like in the movies, but real. Each alien also had some kind of shimmering field around them, barely visible in the morning light. Energy shields, Da-hee commented. Command needs to know about this. More ships were landing now, forming a perfect circle around the first one. Jeho kept his breathing steady, just like he taught his students at the sniper school. Slow is smooth, smooth is fast, he always said. The alien in front raised something in its hand. A loud voice boomed across the field, speaking in perfect Korean. People of Earth, you are now under the protection of the Raxan Alliance. Resistance is unnecessary and will be met with appropriate force. Your military forces will stand down immediately. Jeho's radio crackled. All units hold position. Do not engage. Repeat, do not engage. Through his scope, Jeho watched as more aliens emerged from their ships. They moved with the confidence of soldiers who had done this many times before. They didn't bother looking for threats. Why should they? Their ships could detect any large military force, and their shields could stop any primitive weapons these humans might have. But they didn't look up at the hills surrounding the landing zone. They didn't check the tree lines or the abandoned buildings. They didn't look for the things that human soldiers had learned to fear over thousands of years of warfare. They don't know about snipers, Jeho realized. They've never fought anyone who could kill from hiding. Da-hee checked her tablet. Command is saying similar landings are happening all over the world. Same message everywhere. Protection, they call it. Jeho watched as the aliens began setting up equipment around their ships. Their movements were practiced but relaxed. Too relaxed. They acted like they were on a training exercise, not an invasion. Take pictures of everything, Jeho instructed. Every weapon, every piece of equipment. We need to know what we're dealing with. As the sun rose higher, Jeho remained motionless, gathering intelligence that would soon prove vital. The aliens had technology that humanity had only dreamed of. But they had something else too, something that had killed armies throughout human history. They had arrogance. They think they're invincible, Jeho whispered, more to himself than to Daddy. That's going to be their first mistake. Little did the Raxan Alliance know, they had just started a war unlike any they had fought before. They were about to learn why human snipers were feared across every battlefield on Earth. and Master Sergeant Jae-ho Park would be one of their first teachers. Lieutenant Hae-Nul Kim stared at the screen in front of her, watching the footage for the 100th time. 3 days had passed since the Raxan Alliance landed, and now they were attacking. But something about their shield technology didn't make sense. "Play it again," she said to the technician beside her. The video showed a Raxan soldier being hit by various weapons. Bullets bounced off the energy shield, creating small ripples of blue light. But one shot, from a distance, had gone straight through. "Stop there." Hae-Nul pointed at the screen. "See that? The shield ripples differently when hit by the sniper round." The underground command center was busy with activity. Reports were coming in from all over South Korea about Raxan troops advancing from their landing zones. Their energy weapons turned tanks into melted metal, and their shields seemed to stop everything, almost everything. "Get me Master Sergeant Park on the line," Hae-Nul ordered. Within minutes, Jae-ho's voice came through the speakers. "This is Park. We're tracking 3 Raxan squadrons moving through Daegu. Sergeant, I need to know exactly what ammunition you were using during the observation mission," Hae-Nul said. She pulled up the data from his rifle's computer system. "Standard match-grade 7.62 mm rounds. Nothing special," Jae-ho replied. The sound of distant energy weapons could be heard in the background. Hae-Nul checked the data. The bullet speed was higher than normal rifle rounds. The rotation was also different due to Jae-ho's custom rifle barrel. "Sergeant, I think their shields have a weakness," she said, excitement in her voice. "The energy field can't stop objects moving above a certain speed and spinning at specific rates. Your sniper rounds hit both marks perfectly." There was a pause on the line. "That matches what we're seeing here," Jae-ho said. "My team has confirmed 4 kills. The shields light up but don't stop the rounds." Hae-Nul quickly sent orders to all sniper teams across the country. "Adjust your ammunition to match these specifications. High velocity, specific spin rate. The shields can't handle the combination." The Raxan were advancing with the confidence of conquerors. Their ground troops walked in the open, protected by shields they believed were impenetrable. Their commanders had conquered 32 other worlds this way. No primitive projectile weapons had ever given them trouble before. In Daegu, Jae-ho's team was proving them wrong. One by one, Raxan soldiers fell. Their shields flared bright blue, but failed to stop the precisely calculated sniper rounds. The aliens had never learned to take cover or watch for hidden threats from above. "Target down," Dahi reported calmly. "They're starting to notice something's wrong." The Raxan squad ahead of them was looking around in confusion. Their commander was shouting orders in their strange language. They couldn't understand how their shields were failing. Back in the command center, Hae-Nul watched multiple video feeds. All across the country, sniper teams were engaging the enemy. The Raxan's perfect formation was breaking apart as they desperately sought cover. "They've never faced an enemy like us," Hae-Nul said to herself. "They don't understand that humans have been killing each other from hiding for thousands of years. We've made it into an art." A message came in from military headquarters. The Raxan were pulling back to their ships in several areas. Their first attack had failed. Humanity's deadliest soldiers had shown them that superior technology wasn't everything. "All sniper teams, maintain pressure on retreating forces," Hae-Nul ordered. "Don't let them analyze what went wrong. Keep them confused and scared." Jae-ho's voice came over the radio again. "They're running. The mighty Raxan are running from weapons they thought were primitive." Hae-Nul smiled. The aliens had made a terrible mistake. They thought their advanced technology made them invincible. But they were learning that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't our guns or bombs. It was our ability to find a weakness and exploit it. And now, thanks to their arrogance, the Raxan were about to learn just how deadly human ingenuity could be. Captain Sun Mi-Lee moved like a shadow through the ruins of Seoul. 2 weeks had passed since the Raxan's first failed attack, and now humanity was fighting back. The aliens had never seen anything like Ghost Protocol before. "Team positions confirmed," Her radio whispered in her ear. 5 other snipers were spread across the broken city, each one hidden so well that even she didn't know exactly where they were. Sun Mi checked her rifle again. The new ammunition designed by Lieutenant Hae-Nul Kim worked perfectly. The bullets could now punch through Raxan shields every time. But getting the shot was only half the battle. Staying hidden was just as important. Through her scope, she watched a group of Raxan soldiers searching buildings. They moved differently now. Gone was their early confidence. Now they checked every window, every shadow. But they still didn't understand how human snipers worked. Target moving into Zone 3, one of her team members reported quietly. They're following the pattern. Sun Mi smiled. The Raxan thought they were being clever, using small groups to draw out the human snipers. They didn't realize they were walking into a trap. Remember, she said into her radio, no shots until my mark. Let them think they're safe. The aliens had learned to watch for single snipers, but they hadn't figured out how humans could coordinate without using technology they could detect. Every hand signal, every pre-planned position, every backup plan. These were things the Raxan couldn't understand. The alien squad moved closer to the center of her team's kill zone. Their energy weapons were raised, shields humming. They were scared now, but still dangerous. Ghost team, execute on my mark, Sun Mi whispered. She watched through her scope as the Raxan commander raised his hand to point at a building. Mark. 6 shots rang out at exactly the same moment. 6 Raxan soldiers fell before their shields could even flare. The rest of the squad panicked, firing their energy weapons at empty windows and shadows. Shift positions, Sun Mi ordered. Her team was already moving before the words left her mouth. By the time Raxan reinforcements arrived, they would be in new hiding spots. The remaining aliens were calling for help on their communicators. They fired at anything that moved, wasting energy and showing their fear. Second pattern, Sun Mi commanded. 3 shots only. 3 more shots echoed through the city. 3 more Raxan fell. The survivors finally broke and ran, leaving their dead behind. Sun Mi's radio crackled with Lieutenant Hae-Nul's voice from command. Ghost protocol is working across all sectors. The Raxan are pulling back to fortify positions. They still don't understand, Sun Mi replied, already moving to her next position. They think technology will save them. They don't realize that humans have been hunting each other since we invented the bow and arrow. Back at their landing ships, the Raxan commanders were facing a new kind of fear. Their soldiers wouldn't patrol in small groups anymore. They demanded heavy armor support for every mission. But that just made them easier targets for hidden snipers. Ghost team, regroup at Point Delta, Sun Mi ordered. As she moved through the ruins, she thought about how strange this war was. The Raxan had ships that could cross galaxies, weapons that could melt tanks, and shields that could stop most attacks. But they didn't have the one thing that made human snipers so deadly: patience. The ability to lie perfectly still for hours, waiting for one perfect shot. The skill to become part of the environment, to disappear so completely that even other humans couldn't spot them. Sun Mi reached the meeting point and found her team already there, gear cleaned and ready for the next mission. They didn't need to talk about their success. They all knew that today was just the beginning. The Raxan would learn soon enough. On Earth, death didn't come with flashing lights and energy beams. It came silently, invisibly, from a distance, and by the time you heard the shot, it was already too late. Sergeant Taiwan Choi frowned as he studied the new Raxan shield through his scope. After a month of losses, the aliens had finally changed their technology. Their shields now shimmered with a purple glow instead of blue. The old ammunition isn't working anymore, he reported to base. They've adapted their shields to stop our rounds. Next to him, his spotter watched through binoculars as Raxan troops moved confidently through the streets of Busan. The aliens thought they had solved their sniper problem. Send me the shield analysis. Lieutenant Hae-Nul's voice came through his radio. Taiwan's rifle scope was connected to the military's computer system, sending data about everything it saw. Taiwan was different from other snipers. Before joining the military, he had studied physics. He understood both the science and the art of shooting. That's why they sent him to test the new Raxan shields. "Look at how the shield ripples when hit," he said, firing another round. The bullet bounced off the purple energy field. "It's like they've changed the frequency of the shield's energy." In the command center, Hey Newell watched the data flow across her screens. "The new shields are stronger, but they're using more power," she said. "That's why they're glowing brighter." Taiwan thought about this as he watched the Raxan patrol. The aliens were acting confident again, thinking their new shields made them safe. But Taiwan knew better. Every technology had a weakness. "What if we change our approach?" he suggested. "Instead of trying to punch through the shield, we could overload it." Newell was quiet for a moment. "Explain." "The shields are using more power now. That means they're working harder to stop our bullets." Taiwan adjusted his scope, scanning the aliens' equipment. "If we hit them with multiple rounds in exactly the same spot, the shield would have to work harder and harder." Hey Newell finished his thought. "Until it couldn't keep up." For the next hour, Taiwan tested different combinations of shots. 2 rounds fired quickly at the same point. 3 rounds. 4 rounds. He recorded everything, sending the data back to Hey Newell. Finally, on his 7th test, something happened. 3 quick shots at exactly the same spot made the purple shield flare brightly. The 4th shot went straight through, dropping the Raxan soldier instantly. "Confirmed kill," his spotter said quietly. "Shield overload successful." The other Raxan troops didn't know what to do. Their new shields were supposed to be perfect. They started firing wildly at buildings again, but Taiwan was already moving to a new position. Sending the data to all sniper teams, Hey Newell reported. "Time between shots must be less than 0.3 seconds. All rounds must hit within 1 centimeter of each other." Taiwan smiled. This was why humans were different from the Raxan. The aliens relied on their technology to protect them. Humans looked for ways to beat that technology. Ghost teams are reporting successful kills across all sectors. Hey Newell's voice was excited. "The Raxan don't understand what's happening. Their perfect shields are failing again." By sunset, the aliens were retreating once more. Their new shields, which they thought would turn the tide of war, had failed in less than a day. Human snipers had already learned how to beat them. "They still don't get it," Taiwan said to his spotter as they packed up their gear. "They think war is about having the best technology, but it's really about who can adapt faster." In their ships, the Raxan commanders were learning a hard lesson. Every time they changed their technology, the humans found a way around it. Every perfect defense had a flaw. Every advantage could be turned against them. And somewhere in the ruins of every city, human snipers waited patiently, ready to teach them another lesson about underestimating Earth's defenders. Staff Sergeant Yan Kang loved Seoul's old buildings, the twisting alleys, the steel towers, the abandoned subway tunnels. They were all part of her playground now. After 6 weeks of war, the city had become a perfect hunting ground for human snipers. "Movement in Sector 4, her spotter whispered. "Raxan heavy unit moving up the main street." Yanji watched through her scope as 5 Raxan soldiers escorted their newest weapon, a floating tank that hummed with energy. The aliens thought their new vehicle would protect them from snipers. They were wrong. "Command, this is Shadow 3, she spoke softly into her radio, requesting permission to test the new round. Lieutenant Hey Newell's voice came back quickly. "Permission granted. Remember, you only get 1 shot with this ammunition. Make it count." Yanji touched the special bullet in her rifle. Sergeant Taiwan had designed it using everything they had learned about Raxan shields. It was humanity's latest answer to alien technology. The Raxan tank floated down the street, its sensors scanning buildings. But it only scanned the first few floors. The aliens still hadn't learned to look up high enough. Wind speed steady, her spotter reported. Target is entering optimal range. Yunji had chosen this building carefully, 40 stories up, with a broken window giving her a perfect view of 3 major streets. The Raxan never looked this high because their own soldiers were afraid of heights. She took a slow breath and waited. The tank was almost in position. Its shield glowed purple-red, stronger than anything they had seen before. But To-1 had promised this round would work. Taking the shot, she whispered. The bullet left her rifle silently, thanks to the new suppressor technology. It traveled 800 meters in less than a second. When it hit the tank's shield, something amazing happened. Instead of bouncing off or overloading the shield, the bullet seemed to pass through like it wasn't there. It hit exactly where Yunji had aimed. The tank's power core. The entire vehicle exploded in a flash of blue light. Target destroyed, her spotter said with a smile. The shield phase round works perfectly. The Raxan soldiers were panicking now. Their ultimate protection had just been destroyed by a single shot. They fired their weapons wildly at the buildings, but they were shooting at the wrong floors. All sniper teams, be advised. Haynul's voice came over the radio. Shield phase ammunition is confirmed effective against Raxan heavy units, switching to Phase 2 of Urban Warfare Protocol. Yunji was already moving to her next position. In urban combat, you never stayed in one place for long. The city was full of hidden paths that only humans knew about. They're calling for backup, her spotter reported, listening to intercepted Raxan communications. 3 more heavy units are moving into the sector. Good, Yunji smiled. More targets for testing. Throughout Seoul, other sniper teams were engaging Raxan forces. The aliens had thought their tanks would make them safe in the city. Instead, they had given the snipers bigger targets to shoot at. Remember when they first landed? Her spotter asked as they moved through a hidden passage between buildings. They thought we were primitive because we still used bullets. Yunji nodded. Now they're learning that sometimes the old ways are the best ways. All their fancy technology can't help them if they don't understand basic urban warfare. By nightfall, the Raxan had lost 12 tanks and pulled all their forces back to their fortified bases. They couldn't understand how their strongest shields had failed. They didn't know that humans had centuries of experience fighting in cities. The city is our home, Yunji said as she set up her next position. They're just visitors who don't know the rules. And in every dark window, behind every broken wall, human snipers waited to teach them those rules, one shot at a time. Major Do-hyun Ba stood in the underground command center, looking at the giant screen in front of him. It showed the positions of every Raxan commander in Seoul. 2 months of careful watching had led to this moment. All sniper teams report ready, Lieutenant Haynul said from her station. Ghost protocol is in place. Do-hyun nodded. This would be the biggest operation since the war started. 20 of Earth's best snipers were in position, waiting for his order. Among them were Jai-ho, Sunmai, Ta-1, and Yunji. Show me the Raxan command structure again, he ordered. The screen changed to show a pyramid of alien leaders. At the top was High Commander Vex, who never left his ship. Below him were 5 senior commanders who led the ground forces. They were the targets. The Raxan are creatures of habit, Do-hyun explained to his staff. Every 3 days, their commanders meet in person because they don't trust electronic communications anymore. They think meeting in 5 different places makes them safe. Haynul smiled. They don't realize we've been watching them for weeks. The clock showed 1400 hours. Right on schedule, the Raxan commanders left their ships and moved to their meeting places. They had special shields, stronger than regular troops. They had guards and security sensors, but they didn't have experience with human strategic thinking. All teams, confirm targets, Do-hyun ordered. One by one, the sniper teams reported in. Each had a clear shot at their target. The Raxan were so confident in their security that they always sat in the same places, by the same windows. Execute Operation Checkmate, Do-hyun commanded. 20 shots rang out across Seoul at exactly the same moment. 20 special shield phase rounds, each one aimed at a specific target. In just 3 seconds, the entire Raxan command structure on Earth was gone. All targets eliminated, Hanul reported, her voice steady. No commanders survived. The effect was immediate. Without their leaders, the Raxan troops fell into chaos. Some tried to retreat to their ships. Others fired randomly at buildings. Their perfect military order broke down completely. Phase 2, Do-hyun ordered. Take out their communication officers. Another series of shots across the city. The aliens who tried to call for help fell one by one. The Raxan had never experienced anything like this in their long history of conquest. Intercepted communications showed total confusion in the Raxan ranks. Hanul said, "They can't understand how we killed all their commanders at once." Do-hyun watched as the alien forces started fighting among themselves. Some wanted to surrender. Others wanted to burn the whole city. But none of them knew what to do without orders from above. "This is why we win," he said quietly. "The Raxan think power comes from technology and rank. They don't understand that true power comes from the ability to think and act independently." In their ships, the Raxan were facing their worst nightmare. Their entire chain of command was gone in seconds. Their troops were scattered and afraid. And somewhere out there, human snipers were still watching, still waiting. High Commander Vex is ordering all forces to pull back to their ships. Hanul reported. They're retreating across the whole city. Do-hyun nodded. The Raxan had finally reached their breaking point. All their advanced technology, all their military might, had been defeated by 20 humans with rifles. "Send word to all teams," he ordered. "The city is ours again, but stay alert." The Raxans still have one commander left. High above Seoul, in his supposedly safe ship, High Commander Vex was learning the hardest lesson of all. On Earth, no place was truly safe. No technology was perfect. And no alien force was ready for the patience, skill, and determination of human snipers. Lieutenant Ji-woo Ryu moved through the darkness like a ghost. Her black suit absorbed light, making her almost invisible. The Raxan thought their night vision technology was superior to human equipment. They were about to learn how wrong they were. "Target group entering the zone," her spotter whispered through the radio. "They're using the new heat sensors." Ji-woo smiled in the darkness. After losing their commanders last week, the Raxan had changed their tactics. They only moved at night now, using special sensors to detect human body heat. "Too bad they don't know about our cooling suits," she thought. The cooling suit was simple technology, just special fabric that kept her body temperature low. But it worked perfectly against the alien sensors. The Raxan were looking for warm human bodies. They couldn't find what they couldn't see. 10 enemies moving south on Main Street, the spotter reported. "They're getting careless." Through her night vision scope, Ji-woo watched the Raxan patrol. They walked quietly, weapons ready, but their movements showed their fear. Every shadow made them jump. Every small noise made them turn and fire. "They're afraid of the dark now," Ji-woo said softly, "just like children." In the command center, Lieutenant Hanul watched through Ji-woo's scope feed. "Remember, we don't need kills tonight. This is about teaching them to fear the darkness." Ji-woo understood perfectly. Tonight was about psychological warfare. The Raxan needed to learn that nowhere was safe, not even in the dark. She fired a single shot, deliberately missing the aliens by inches. The sound echoed through the empty streets. The Raxan soldiers jumped and fired their energy weapons wildly, lighting up the night with blue flashes. "They're panicking already," the spotter said. "Too easy." Ji-woo moved silently to her next position. Another shot. Another near miss. The aliens were shooting at everything now, wasting energy and showing their fear. More patrols responding to the shots. Hanul reported. "Ghost teams 2 and 3 are in position." Across the city, other sniper teams were doing the same thing. A shot here, a sound there. The Raxan couldn't tell if they were under attack or just jumping at shadows. Their commanders are ordering them to return to base, the spotter said, listening to alien communications. They're too scared to continue the patrol. But going back was exactly what Ji Woo wanted them to do. She fired one more shot, forcing them down a specific street. All teams, execute Phase 2, Ho Newell ordered. Suddenly, shots rang out from every direction. No bullets hit the aliens, but each shot came closer than the last. The Raxan broke formation and ran, all military discipline forgotten. Look at them run. Ji Woo's spotter laughed quietly. The mighty alien army, scared of the dark. Back in their ships, the Raxan leaders were facing a new problem. Their soldiers refused to go out at night anymore. They said humans could see in the dark better than them. They said human snipers were everywhere, watching and waiting. Mission accomplished, Ho Newell said. The night belongs to us now. Jagu watched as the last Raxan patrol disappeared into their base. They had learned an important lesson tonight. Superior technology didn't help if you were too afraid to use it. They still don't understand us, she said to her spotter as they packed up their gear. They think war is about weapons and shields. They don't know that the strongest weapon is the one you can't see or fight. Fear itself. In the darkness of Seoul, human snipers continued their patient watch. The Raxan had lost more than their commanders now. They had lost their confidence, their sense of safety. And in war, that was more dangerous than any bullet. Colonel Min Ho-song stood on the roof of the military headquarters, watching the morning sun rise over Seoul. 3 months had passed since the Raxan first landed. Now, everything was about to change. All global teams report ready, Lieutenant Ho Newell said through his earpiece. We have confirmation from every major city on Earth. Min Ho nodded. Today's operation would involve every sniper team on the planet. They would all strike at the same moment, in every city where the Raxan had landed. Show me the target list, he ordered. A holographic display appeared in front of him, showing Raxan positions worldwide. Their ships still dominated the skies, but they rarely left them now. Their ground forces stayed in fortified bases, too afraid to patrol the cities anymore. Master Sergeant Ji-ho's team is in position in Seoul, Ho Newell reported. Captain Sun Mi's group has their targets in Busan. Sergeant Ta-won, Lieutenant Ji Woo, and Staff Sergeant Yan-ji are all ready. The plan was simple but bold. Every human sniper would fire at exactly the same time, all around the world. The Raxan would face attacks everywhere at once. Time check, Min Ho said. 5 minutes to global strike. In their ships and bases, the Raxan thought they were safe. They had changed their shields again, improved their sensors, and added more defenses. But they still didn't understand what made human snipers so deadly. 3 minutes, Ho Newell counted down, all teams switching to shield phase rounds. The new ammunition was their secret weapon. Each bullet could pass through any Raxan shield like it wasn't there. The aliens didn't know that human scientists had finally cracked the code of their shield technology. 1 minute, Ho Newell said. Strike package uploaded to all teams. Min Ho thought about how far they had come. The Raxan had arrived thinking Earth would be an easy conquest. Now their mighty army was hiding in their ships, afraid of simple human weapons. Execute Operation Dawn, he commanded. Across the Earth, thousands of sniper rifles fired at exactly the same moment. Shield generators exploded. Power cores failed. Command centers went dark. The Raxan's perfect defenses fell in seconds. Direct hits reported worldwide. Ho Newell announced, 80% of targeted systems are down. Through his binoculars, Min Ho watched Raxan soldiers running in panic. Their shields were gone. Their sensors were blind. For the first time, they felt truly vulnerable on Earth. Phase 2, he ordered. All teams, begin systematic targeting. More shots rang out across the planet. One by one, Raxan defense positions fell. Their soldiers tried to fight back, but they had forgotten how to fight without their technology. London reports all targets eliminated. Haynul said. New York, Moscow, Tokyo, all reporting successful strikes. The Raxan are retreating everywhere. Minho allowed himself a small smile. This was the turning point they had waited for. The mighty alien army was running from human snipers. High Commander Vex is calling for emergency evacuation, Haynul reported. Their ships are powering up worldwide. In the sky above Seoul, the massive Raxan ships began to rise. The same thing was happening in every city they had tried to conquer. The invincible alien army was leaving Earth. Let them go, Minho said. They've learned what they came to learn. As the ships disappeared into space, Minho thought about the lesson humanity had taught the Raxan. Technology wasn't everything. Fancy weapons and shields couldn't replace skill, patience, and determination. Send the order, he told Haynul. All snipers maintain watch. Make sure our visitors don't change their minds about leaving. The sun was fully up now, shining on a city the humans had defended with nothing but rifles and courage. Somewhere out there, Earth's guardian angels watched through their scopes, making sure humanity's message was clear. Never underestimate a species that had perfected the art of war long before reaching the stars. Master Sergeant Jaeho Park adjusted his ghillie suit as he lay on the rooftop of the Peace Conference building. 4 months had passed since the Raxan tried to conquer Earth. Now they were back, not to fight, but to talk. All security teams in position. Lieutenant Haynul reported through his radio. Ghost Protocol remains active during negotiations. Jaeho watched through his scope as alien ships landed in the same field where they had first arrived. But this time, the Raxan ships were marked with white flags, a human symbol of peace they had learned to use. Target verification complete, his spotter, Dahi, said quietly. That's High Commander Vex himself stepping out. The Raxan leader looked different from his soldiers. He was taller, with gold markings on his silver armor. But Jaeho noticed something else. Vex looked up at the buildings around him. He knew human snipers were watching. The commander is scanning rooftops, Dahi noted. They finally learned to look up. In the conference room below, Colonel Minho-san waited with Earth's other military leaders. They had chosen this building carefully. Every window gave their hidden snipers a clear view of the aliens. Remember, Haynul's voice came through the radio. This is a peace conference, but Ghost Protocol stays active. We don't take chances. Jaeho watched as High Commander Vex entered the building. The alien leader had requested this meeting after their failed invasion. He wanted to understand how his mighty army had been defeated by what they had thought was primitive technology. Through his scope, Jaeho could see the conference room clearly. Vex sat down across from Earth's leaders, his movements careful and respectful, very different from the arrogance the Raxan had shown when they first arrived. The commander is speaking, Dahi reported, listening through special microphones. He's admitting they were wrong about humanity. Jaeho smiled as he heard Vex's translated words. We came to your world thinking technology made us superior. We learned instead that the deadliest weapon is not the most advanced, but the one wielded with the most skill. Colonel Minho's response was clear and firm. Earth is protected not by our weapons, but by the men and women who use them. Remember this lesson if you ever think of returning uninvited. The peace treaty was simple. The Raxan would never again attempt to invade Earth. In return, humans would share their knowledge of precision warfare, not their sniper technology, but the principles behind it. Patience, skill, and the understanding that superior technology alone doesn't win wars. Look at their honor guards, Dahi whispered. They're all carrying projectile weapons now, alongside their energy guns. They're learning. Jaeho watched as Vex signed the treaty. The alien commander then did something unexpected. He looked directly at the window where Jaeho was hiding and raised his hand in a salute. Even though he couldn't see the sniper, he knew he was there. Maintain positions until all alien ships have left. Haynul ordered. Stay sharp. As the Raxan prepared to leave Earth, Jai-Ho thought about everything that had happened. The aliens had come expecting an easy victory. Instead, they had learned that humanity's greatest strength wasn't in our technology, but in our ability to adapt, to be patient, and to turn our enemies' strengths against them. The last ship is lifting off, Dahi reported. Earth's airspace will be clear in 5 minutes. Jai-Ho kept watching through his scope until the final ship disappeared into space. The Raxan had learned their lesson, but he knew other aliens might come someday. When they did, Earth's snipers would be ready. Ghost Protocol remains active, Colonel Minho announced to all teams. As long as humanity exists, we will have guardians in the shadows, watching and waiting. This is the lesson we taught the galaxy. Never underestimate the patience of a human sniper. In his position, unseen and silent, Jai-Ho smiled. The stars above might hide many advanced civilizations, but now they all knew Earth was protected by the deadliest hunters in the galaxy. Human snipers who had perfected their art through centuries of warfare, and who would always be watching, waiting in the shadows.